Greetings in Christ Jesus. This last Sunday was Catholic Education Sunday in Calgary, and the presenters at the various masses said we should support Catholic education by sharing our Catholic education stories. And this is my story. This is the story of how I was fired by the Calgary Catholic School District as a substitute teacher for following their policies, for talking to the students clearly and compassionately about the Catholic Catechism and quoting the Bible. And for those things, I was fired. So that's the story I want to tell you. So it says in the Bible, well, it doesn't just say in the Bible, it's Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 to 17. And Jesus himself tells us, if your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over. So I wrote a letter, because that was the only access I had, to Dr. Brian Zumlis, the chief superintendent. And I said, hey, you can't fire a Catholic for saying Catholic things in a Catholic school. And in response, he wrote me a letter, which I will quote some of those things from that letter, because what he says in that letter is, as a Catholic faith leader, absolutely indefensible. So anyways, Jesus went on to say, but if they will not listen, and he didn't, take one or two others along. So my wife and I met with Dr. Zumlis and his director of Catholicity, John Wash, and the bishop, His Excellency William McGrattan, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. Did he listen? No. And so Jesus goes on to say, if they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And that's what I'm doing. I'm telling it to the church. I'm telling you about Dr. Brian Zumlis and the error and the sin in which he is leading our children and the Catholic school district. So here's what the policy of the school district is. Officially, the administrative procedure says our Catholic faith is integrated into every program and every aspect of school life. The concept of permeation recognizes that Catholic identity finds expression in every dimension of a Catholic school. Imagine that, every dimension. And imagine that the director writes back to me and contradicts himself by saying, and I quote it, do not, his emphasis, do not actively embed Catholic faith principles into the lesson plan of a classroom teacher. Do not do that. Now here's the next thing. The administrative procedure on sensitive issues. Teachers are responsible for witnessing to their faith in all areas of school life, including those dealing with sensitive issues. If we don't talk about them, well, we have to talk about them. The world is talking about them. The district expects that all teachers will support parents, legal guardians as primary educators by presenting with clarity the teachings of the Catholic Church when addressing any sensitive issues. Well, what am I told on that one? Do not, again, their emphasis, do not engage with them, students, on sensitive issues. So don't do that. Okay? And so I followed their official policy and then was expected to know that I shouldn't do that. And then I was given citations for doing those things. The other, in terms of the Bible, it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And here's what Dr. Zumlis has to say on that particular Bible verse, which is very sad. We are subject to human rights legislation, not just the 10 Commandments, apparently, and court decisions, and therefore must be careful to abide by these ever-changing societal directions in harmony with our faith. Well, you can't be in harmony with the world and with the faith, because you can only have one master. Jesus said that too. You can only have one master. Okay? So it's clear that... Oh, and let me tell you what my most grievous fault was. Did I go on a rant in front of the children and say hateful things? No. a child raised their hand. I'm just giving you the short version. A grade 7 child raised their hand and said, but what about me? I'm bisexual. Am I wrong? And what did I say? I said, well, let me put it, you're not wrong. Let me put it this way. The tradition of the church has always been that sexual expression is reserved for marriage between a man and a woman. That got me kicked out of the school, and eventually that got me fired. That's my Catholic education story. I will share more, but we'll leave it at that for today. What can you do? You can write to the superintendent and say shame. You can write to the bishop and say, I think you need to act more strongly to make sure that Catholic educators are Catholic and that they're teaching the Catholic Catechism. Those are 2 things you can do right now. Thank you, and God bless.